Thank you. Waleed Phares is a Fox national security contributor. He joins us today. Waleed, thanks so much for coming on.
Sure, Tucker.
So where does this go from here? I mean, to the extent that we know, where do you believe we're going to wind up?
I believe now our leadership, White House, Pentagon, are assessing exactly what's happening, and they're not going to decide before knowing if the Iranians are going to launch more waves everywhere in Iraq, maybe in Syria, or not. And then they're going to decide what their response is going to be.
So as Brett Baer pointed out, and I thought it was a smart point, it would have been easier for them to hit Balad, the base of Balad, which had a lot more American personnel than the base they hit, and it's closer to Iran. They didn't. Does that suggest to you that they meant this as a symbolic attack?
It could have been. Let me put the background, Tucker. Inside Tehran, from what we know,
yes,
there was a huge debate between two camps, two political opinions. One, the base of Al-Quds and of the Revolutionary Guard, they wanted a retaliation. No matter what, they wanted to show missiles hitting us in response. Others, more seasoned circles, said, are we going to lose all our interest in the Middle East in engaging in this big war with the United States, especially after the president's statements? It looks like the
radicals... By that you mean Lebanon and Syria?
Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, I don't think it's within the zone. But I think that the radicals won the night tonight in Tehran. I'm not sure that they're going to continue to win. They offered what they can offer, but we will see if they can escalate or not.
Do you think the United States can stop at this and say they lob these missiles in, that's it, we're not continuing?
It will be hard to believe if they continue those waves. We are in the middle of the event. I mean, we still have 3-4 hours. If they do more, and it depends on the damage, if the damage is big or not, it's really the call of the president and his national security team. They will decide. I mean, our military have all the panoply of responses.
Yes.
It's a political decision, strategic decision to...
And what do you think their thinking is at this? And again, we should say for our viewers who may just be tuning in that we're expecting the president to address the country at some point tonight. That's not certain, but we have heard that's being considered. So at that point, if that happens, we'll know. But as of now, what do you believe the White House, the national security team around the president, what do you think they're thinking?
I think they want to know really what are the intentions of the Iranians in these types of conflicts where it's not really a terror act and this is it, 9/11 and we're gone. It's really, are they going to continue for 24 hours, 48 hours? Are going to activate their cells in Syria also, shell our positions in Syria? Everything is possible. You know, the Iranians had 3 scenarios, from the easiest for them to the most difficult. The easiest would be to do Iraq because they have their militias, their friends, etc., and they can stop it in Iraq. Our response is going to be most likely in Iraq and maybe on the fire centers that started in Iran. The second one is across the Gulf, attacking our Navy or so. They know that the price will be huge. And the third, impossible, I would say, technically, is crossing the red line and hitting at home. But they know that this would be a major, major blow to them if they would do it. So I think they have decided for the least engagement scenario, which is in Iraq at this point in time.
So, I mean, anyone over 40 remembers a time when Shiite terrorism was a fact of life around the world. Airplanes hijacked, bombings, et cetera. I mean, we haven't seen that in an awfully long time. For all the talk about Iran as this great threat, the terror that we've been faced with for the last 20 years has been almost exclusively Sunni, I think.
The jihadi Sunni, yeah.
Yeah, right. So, of course, jihadi Sunni. So, do you think it's possible that we return to that kind of scenario that we had in the 80s, where Iran is sponsoring acts of terror against civilians in Western countries?
We don't know. It's also depending on our response on them, because terrorism to them is one of the arms that they have. They have shelling, they have terrorism, and they also have their militias. My point of view is that we saw less terrorism coming from the Iranian side because they were winning on the ground. Hezbollah was taken over Lebanon. They were winning in Iraq. They were winning in Syria. Now that they may lose parts of those, then the possibility of them resorting to terrorism is quite there.
So the weaker they get,
exactly,
the more dangerous they become.
Absolutely.
This is a principle that is true throughout the human experience. It's true at the level of countries and it's true at the level of people, but we always forget it. Why is that? Look,
what I think the Iranian regime is afraid of the most is not us, because they know they could stop it with us. It's the revolutions brewing inside their...
Of course.
Voila, yeah. You know, in Lebanon, in Iraq, and in Iran, there are those movements rising. I mean, probably another policy would have been for us to support these, but we cannot control the Iranian response.
And very quickly, I mean, we're in charge of Iraq. We deposed, in effect, the king and took control. Our State Department ran the country. Are you surprised at the degree to which it's now just an Iranian-controlled space?
It's the way we exited Iraq, Tucker, the fact that we exited without having behind us a unified, multi-ethnic, non-impacted by Iran Iraq. And so with time, basically, these militias took the control of the ministries.
Non-ethnic, I mean, were we naive to think that that was possible?
Well, if Iraq was founded as a federal state like Switzerland or Canada or even Cyprus in the past, that could have been possible. But what is happening right now is Iraq is divided at this point in time between the various sects, and we saw it when the Sunni and the Kurds withdrew from the parliament. But that is not the issue. The issue is what the Iranians have in mind for the next 12 hours.
You're absolutely right, and we don't know.
Yeah.
Cyprus in the past, exactly. Well, so great to see you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.